All right, guys, welcome to Get to Base Camp. So in our last video, we were talking about what are the minimum requirements of physical activity that we need every single week. So just to recap, that is 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity, so cardio, and then 2 full body strength workouts. So, and then just a reminder with that cardio, it's not just going on a leisurely stroll. We want to get that heart rate elevated. So going from there, you're like, I know what the minimum I need to do is. If you can do more, awesome, but that's the minimum. So what do I do next? Now, if you're going to work with a trainer, they're going to, after talking about, goals and things like that, they're going to talk about, they need to do an assessment. So they need to see first, are you cleared for exercise? Is there any injuries going on? And if you aren't cleared for exercise, they need to make sure you can get medical clearance. So how would you know that? How do you know if you need medical clearance? So if you search for something called the PAR-Q Plus, generally, and the reason I say plus is because, so in the PAR-Q, it's a list of 7 questions. Now, if you answer yes to any of those questions, with the old PAR-Q, it was if you answered yes to any of them, then you need to go get medical clearance. But what it led to was clients who were just going to see their doctor for kind of minimal things that they really didn't need to go see their doctor for. So, because like if someone had asthma, it was like, you need to go get medical clearance. So, generally with the PAR-Q Plus, what it does is you'll answer those 7 questions. If you answer yes to one of those, then there's a list of follow-up questions. And then if you answer yes to any of those questions, then you do need to go get medical clearance. So, they'll start with that. Now, assuming you've answered no to all of the questions, you are cleared for exercise, they are going to move on to, they'll probably ask about, any injuries and things like that. But then they're going to look at, ideally, they might talk to you about heart rate. They might take your resting heart rate, or if you have a smartwatch and you keep track of it. But should look at blood pressure. That is something that should be checked, just because, God forbid, you have, just to make sure that you are in a normal blood pressure range. It's not elevated, or you're not, you don't have hypertension. So they might check that. Once they have checked, heart rate or blood pressure or both, then generally you're going to move into the body comp assessment. So there's a couple of different ones, but you might look at BMI. So BMI is your body mass index. This is your weight in relation to your height. Now, keep in mind, this is not always accurate, or really should say sometimes it's misleading. So because take someone who is really, really small or short, but they are really, really muscular, they're really strong. Well, if they have more muscle, their weight is going to be higher. So it might say that based on your height, your weight is too high, you're overweight. But obviously if they have a ton of muscle, like they're not overweight, it's just that they have a lot of muscle on their body, they're really strong. So that's not always the best indicator. So just keep that in mind. If you are someone who is like, if you're like me and you're 5'2", but then but you've got a lot of muscle and your weight is over a certain point, then it might, don't be alarmed. So that's why the next thing that they do, I actually don't even really look at BMI with my clients. I'll just go straight to body fat percentage. So you can get this done either by doing a skin fold test. I use a handheld scanner with mine, the Omron scanner, and I found it's pretty accurate. But I will say, if you are someone who's wanting to get your body fat percentage checked, like you're wanting to know where you're at, do not do a skin fold test on yourself. They're hard to do. Like, you've got to know how to use the calipers and how to pinch, like where all the sites are. I just go see a trainer if you want to get a skin fold test done, or see if there's a trainer who you can book some time with that has one of those scanners, one of like the handheld scanners. That way you can just do it that way. But whenever you're doing the skin fold test, you have to know how to use the calipers correctly. And also you've got to know where the sites are. And if you don't use the calipers in the right way, then the measurement's going to be off. And if the measurement is off, then the whole formula is going to be off and you're not going to get an accurate number. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I use a handheld scanner with mine. I've done skin fold tests and the scanner, and it was it's like spot on. So it's easier to use that if you have it. So I mean, they're generally a couple $100, so I wouldn't say just go buy one. Just connect with a trainer if you can to get that checked. So once you do, body fat, so and those are important to know, because if you're over, if you're in a category where it's higher than it needs to be, that at least just gives you something to work towards, because then if you're over a certain point for your body fat percentage, and it's different between men and women. It also depends on your age. If you are in a category where you need, or it's high and you need to get it down to like the normal ranges, then it gives you something to work towards. It also just lets you know what your true starting point is. So that way, when you reassess in say 8 or 12 weeks or however long, you know what that starting point was, you know what to compare it to. The other thing that they'll look at is waist circumference. This is something you could do at home. You're literally just measuring your waist. So you can look up exactly where that is for you, but generally just kind of right above or right under your ribs, above your belly button, right at the thinnest part of your body, that waist. You're just gonna measure that. And the reason why they look at waist circumference, this isn't for like vanity or anything like that, like, oh, we just need to get a small waist. That is not the thing at all. If your waist circumference is over a certain point for females and males, because the two are different, like the two measurements are going to be different there, then you are more at risk for different diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancers. You're more at risk. Same thing for if your BMI and if your body fat percentages are higher, then you're more at risk for those things. But waist circumference is a big one. So that is why they'll look at that. So that way, again, it's not for a vanity thing. It's not for, they just want me to have a really small waist. That's not it at all. It's whenever if your waist circumference is over a certain point, then you're more at risk for certain diseases. And they don't want you to be at risk for certain diseases. They want you to be healthy. They want you to, to live a long, healthy life, have energy, and all of those things. So that is why they will do that. So yeah, those are your body comp measurements. There's a few others and everything that people can do. Generally with my clients, we'll look at, after we do that PAR-Q, we'll check your blood pressure, we'll look at body fat percent, and then we go into my favorite part, which is the movement assessment. So I take my clients through a functional movement screen. There's a ton of different mobility and movement assessments that you can do. Again, I would say for this, we all pretty much know our bodies really well. So if something isn't right, like if we have a shoulder issue and we can't really raise our hand fully above our head, like if we're up here, then obviously if you're working out, don't try to put weight in this hand and raise your hand, and do an overhead movement. So but the mobility assessments and the movement assessments just allow your trainer to know, really, are there any exercises that you might want to avoid for now? So essentially, like if you have issues, like if you can't kneel down to tie your shoes and come back up, then we're probably not going to do lunges, or we're probably not going to do lunges for now. They'll just check certain things, and we are going to have a video that goes over how to screen your own movement, so you can keep an eye out for that. So that way you'll know, like, okay, I'm cleared for exercise. I'm ready to start. How do I do a movement? How do I assess my own movement? Well, we'll do a video on that. But obviously, if you can, go work with the trainer, or at least just see if you can book an assessment. That's something I do for people. I'll do assessments, even if you're not going to sign on for an 8-week or 6-month training program. If you at least want to know where you're at, I can help you with that. So reach out to trainers in your area, see if they will do that. That way you'll know where your starting point is. So that way you'll at least know where you are, so you can make that plan to get to where you want to go. So with that said, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions on it, let us know. We'd love to answer them. Bye guys, have a great day.